Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Sandra here. Thank you so much for clicking to watch this video. If it is your first time here, you're so very welcome. If it's not your first time, thank you for coming back. So it's Sunday, another Sunday family betrayal day, and this is where I attempt to do a makeup look while telling you some real life family betrayal stories. Last week we talked about the lling family. If you have not watched that video, I'm going to link it down below, or you can go to my playlist and it's going to be there. That was a tough one, but today's video is even tougher. I mean, this was so hard for me to do. I had to take a minute off of the research of this video and kind of put myself back together to actually complete it, because it was a really hard one. This video is on honor killing, and honestly I had never heard about it. I didn't know what it was until I stumbled on this video, and then I decided to go do a little bit of research on honor killing, and it's just amazing like how many women lose their lives every year on this honor killing issue. Very disheartening. But I just want to warn you for this video, if you can really take some hard stories, like some really tough stories, maybe this is not one that you want to watch. But I really feel like it's an issue that we need to create more awareness about, because it's really bad. So we're gonna get into the Said girl story, and Amina and Sarah Said, how they lost their lives to honor killing by their own father. You guys, that's what makes it a family betrayal, because it's their own father that did it to them. So we're gonna get into that in a few minutes. For today's look, I'm going to be using the Ace Beauté palette. I am so excited about this one. This is a palette that came out back in about November, December-ish. And before I could close my eyes and open them, it was gone. It was sold out. So I had to wait a few more months, and it finally came back in stock, and I grabbed it as soon as I was able to. So this is what it looks like. Amazing palette. So I'm excited to use this today. Again, I don't know what I want to do, but we'll play around with it. So let's do some makeup and talk about today's family betrayal. This story starts when Yasser Said, a young Muslim immigrant, meets and marries his young beautiful wife called Patricia. Now, I don't have a problem with age difference in marriage, except when the other person is just a baby. Okay, Patricia was just 15 years old when she married Yasser. Yasser was 29. Okay, so for me, from the beginning of this story, it just already starts to irritate me. Like, why is a 15-year-old getting married to a 20, getting married, period? Okay, doesn't matter how old the other person is, but 15 getting married. But anyway, Yasser had gone to meet Patricia's parents. He had asked Patricia's dad for permission to marry her, claiming that he is a rich guy back in Egypt. He has landed property. He's going to take care of her and all of that. And Patricia, in the beginning, she said she didn't really love the guy per se, but she grew to love him. And she said because they were very poor, her parents couldn't really take care of her, so this guy comes and professes all the love and everything to her, lying to her that, did I say lying? Well, he pretty much lied to her, because he didn't have all of those things that he claimed to. Okay, when they got married, he did take care of her, but not the way that he professed that he was going to. In the beginning of their relationship, or in the beginning of their marriage, everything was going on pretty well. He took care of Patricia, he loved her per se, and he was good to her. But about 6 or 7 months into the marriage, he started being very, very mean to his wife. He started being controlling. He started using some kind of words on her. He would kick her. He would do some kind of nasty things to her, and he didn't want her to really get involved with her family, saying that her family was American and he didn't like Americans. He would come in the house and like empty the drawers and empty everything out and make her clean it up. He would kick her. He would use abusive words on her. So he even told her one time that it was a mistake that he married an American, which for me, I was like, I mean, why are you in America married to an American and you claim that you don't like Americans? Like, what's the deal with that? Okay, so he did all those nasty things to her, but she just stayed there. I guess she was like, okay, he's my husband. I'm just going to take it for whatever reason. I don't know. But she started also to have kids, right, with him. They ended up having 3 children. Islam was the first, then Amina, and then Sarah. So 1 boy and 2 girls. And throughout the years, the abuse continued with the kids. And at one point, they even suspected, or the kids actually, the girls reported that he had abused them in that kind of bad way. I don't want to use the words because of YouTube, of course. So he had abused them in that kind of way. So when they reported it to their family members, their aunts, Patricia's sisters told Patricia that the girls had reported that abuse to them. So Patricia was kind of furious. She took the girls to the police station and reported the issue. And yes, the girls confirmed it. At that time, Amina was about 9 years old. They confirmed it, said everything that had happened with their dad. And while they were investigating, they had sent CPS to the house to investigate. And when CPS got to the house, the girls recanted. They were like, no, that never happened. We were just saying it just because, So CPS, I guess, believed the girls at that point and then left it alone. As the girls grew up, they experienced more of that abuse from their dad. And a lot of it wasn't, well, there was abuse, but there was also a lot of controlling. Like, he would control their every move. He would monitor their every move. He would track their phones. Like, they couldn't just be teenagers or just be girls or just be kids. He wants to like know their every move, control. He would tap their phones and everything like that. But it's interesting to know that that controlling behavior where they couldn't really do what they wanted, it was just towards the girls, towards Amina and Sarah. With their brother Islam, he was like the prince. He could do whatever he wanted. He didn't have to ask anybody, and some family members even said that he was like rude and cocky, right? The girls, on the other hand, were more very respectful, very pretty girls. Amina, gorgeous, gorgeous girl. She had some beautiful blue eyes, and they had big dreams. Amina wanted to become a doctor. She was very open. She was friendly, and she was outspoken. Okay, she was like the what we call strong head, like the hot-headed one. And Sarah, on the other side, was calm. She was tomboyish. She was very quiet, very reserved, but also very well behaved and very pretty. And she too was very studious. She loved school, and they said she didn't talk a lot, but most of the time when she spoke, she'll be talking about school and how much she loved going to school. Asa was controlling to the point where it became kind of creepy. Okay, to me, I felt like he was some kind of monitoring spirit. He would be everywhere where the girls were. He had a camera. What I found very, very strange and creepy for Yasser, he had a camera on all the time. Like you have this home camera following the girls everywhere, monitoring their every move. Like one time, one of the girls was at I think it was Amina. She was at her job, and Yasser is parked like a few blocks away from the job with his camera, monitoring what she's doing, like recording what she's doing, how she's interacting with clients. And at one point, he goes, "Oh, she smiled at the client." And Sarah is in the car with him. Sarah's like, "Yes, Dad, she has to smile. That's part of her job." And he goes, "She's going to be in trouble." Like, come on. Can you just let these girls be? So he would do that to them. And the girls were just scared of him. Amina would tell her friends how she didn't like her dad. He was very controlling. He didn't want to let them leave. He would be recording them even as they were sleeping, you guys. He would go into their room and he'll be recording the girls on their bed, and he'll be making creepy comments like he'll be focusing the camera on the girl's butt and going like, "Wow." Like make some kind of creepy comments like, who does that to their daughters? I mean, mm. While the girls continued to take their father's abuse, they were determined to live a normal life, whatever normal is. So both of them secretly had boyfriends. Okay, Amina had a boyfriend called Joseph that she met at the karate school, and you could see videos of the dad when he took her to karate school. He would sit there and monitor everything, of course, that she was doing. But he had no idea that Amina had fallen in love with a young guy in there, and they had actually started talking. And they would do everything to keep this relationship secret from their father, because that's actually the main reason why their dad was monitoring their moves. He did not want them getting involved with an American, getting American boyfriends, and then eventually getting married to Americans. Because his plan was that when they get older, or I don't think he even wanted them to get older, his plans was to take them to get married to a rich guy in Egypt. Okay, he had plans to take them to Egypt to get married to some rich man, like the biggest bidder, kind of. So he didn't want them getting involved in any relationships at all, especially not with Americans. So Amina knew that. She and her sister, they knew that. That's why they kept their relationships very, very secret. Amina was so in love with Joseph. They had separate phones. She had a separate phone for just for Joseph, because she knew that her dad was monitoring her phones. They would have like secret names for each other. She would save his name under a different name in her phone so that the dad wouldn't detect it and all of that. And they would talk to each other continuously, like every day, every time they'll be talking to each other. Every time when she went to the karate classes, they would sneak out and hang out. Mina also became very close to Joseph's mom, and Joseph's mom adored her. Okay, because first, like I said, she was very, very pretty. She was a gorgeous one, and she was also very well behaved. Amina would explain to Joseph and his mother the kind of relationship that she had with her father, like the home situation, how the dad planned to marry them off to the biggest to the biggest bidder in Egypt. They had actually traveled to Egypt before. Okay, they had traveled there before, so that I guess so that the guys could check them out. Gross, but he had tried that before and he brought them back, and he was just planning. I guess he was waiting for the right time to finally take them there and marry them off to some rich Egyptian guy. So she would share those thoughts with Joseph and explain to him why they couldn't like come out in the open. And she begged Joseph to just be patient, understand with her, because she knew that they were treading on dangerous grounds. One day, Yasser caught Amina writing a letter to Joseph. He didn't know who Joseph was at the time, but he had caught her writing a letter to a guy, and he was ballistic. Like, he wanted to know who this person was that Amina was writing to so that he could go and confront the person. Amina insisted that she wasn't going to tell him who it was because she knew what kind of person her father was, and she knew that it was going to get really, really bad. So, Yasser, oh my God, he beat her. He hit her in the mouth, hit her in her stomach, kicked her, did like tormented her and asked her to tell him who she was writing to. But Amina insisted. She was like, I'd rather die before I give you the name of this person and where the person is, because she knew that she was going to lose him. She knew that the dad was going to hurt him if he found out where he was or who he was. So she insisted, and he beat her, and he finally gave up. Because of that incident, Yasser decided almost immediately that he was going to move the family. He was seeing that Amina was getting involved with an American, and that was it, like his worst nightmare. So he decided to move the family. They moved out like 20 miles away from where they were living. Took her cell phone, took everything from her. So now she didn't have any communication. She couldn't reach Joseph. She was pretty much cut out from him. But she managed to get in touch with the teacher at the karate school who connected her with Joseph's mother. And she started to email Joseph's mother, telling her everything that had happened, how the dad caught her writing to Joseph, and she didn't want to say who it was, and all of that. Pretty much everything that had happened to her. And she would write to Joseph's mother almost every day, just telling her pain, how the dad had just gotten worse since they got to the new place. He was still controlling. He wasn't letting them do anything. And she knew that her dad had a weapon, the weapon that they used to, she knew that her dad had that weapon. And she was like, I know he's going to finish me one day, so why wait until he does that? Next time when he lays that weapon out, I'm just going to take it and I'm going to finish myself to save him all the trouble. She was writing that to Joseph's mother. And she would say things like, I don't want to be a memory. She's depressed. Just some kind of sad kind of thing she would write to that woman all the time. And finally, the woman connected her with Joseph, and she started to talk to Joseph again. One day, Amina and Sarah decided that they'd had enough of the abuse from their dad and that they were going to run away. And somehow they convinced their mother to follow them, and their mom took them and they drove off, went away from their hometown. They lived in Texas, so they drove away from Texas, moved to Oklahoma. And before they did that, they disconnected their cell phones, threw out the SIM cards because they knew that their dad could trace them from that. So they moved away, went to Oklahoma, and pretty much started a new life, rented an apartment, started living there for a little bit. Yasser stayed back and he started looking for them, started asking Patricia's family members, where is my wife? I need my wife. Give me the number so that I can reach her and all of that. Patricia was like, no, I can't go back. It's been years of abuse. He's done this for too long. I have to protect my girl. There's no way I'm going back to this man. And that was the point. Like, they had disconnected the phones, threw out all the numbers, gotten new numbers so that he couldn't reach them. Because I think Patricia knew the hold that this man had on her. She knew what was going to happen if she spoke to him. So I don't know which evil spirit, I don't know what possessed her to wake up one day and call Yasser for whatever reason. She called him and he said whatever he had to say to her, convinced her to bring the girls back, to come back home with the girls. And from that day, she didn't rest. She was like, I'm not going to rest until I take my girls back to the house, to their father, their abusive father. And she started to convince the girls that they needed to go back home. Amina was not having it. Amina was like, no, there is no way I'm going back. Like, there's no way. I mean, we've come this far. We've been living here peacefully. All this abuse is gone. We are fine. Why do we need to go back? So during the Christmas holidays, or leading towards Christmas, she convinced the girls that she wanted to go home to visit her mom's grave, put some flowers on there because it's Christmas. It looks like she did that every year. So she tried to convince the girls. She was like, we're going to be at my sister's. We're not going to go to the house. I promise you, it's just going to be us. So the girls agreed. So when they get there, Patricia changes her mind. She's like, no, we are going home. They got to her sister's place. She was there only for like an hour or so. She's like, no, we are going back to the house. So Amina was like, no, this is not what you promised us. I'm not going with you. Amina left and went to a friend's place, and Patricia went back to the house with Sarah while Amina went to her friends. But while Amina was at her friends, she still kept convincing Amina to please come home. Please come home. You need to work this out. Your dad needs to talk to you and stuff like that. So finally, the whole time Amina is talking to her boyfriend, to Joseph, and Joseph is telling her, listen, you don't want to do this, you can't trust your mother. Don't go home. And at the end she was like, well, I have to do what I have to do. At the end of the day, he's my dad, his family and stuff. So she followed her mother to the house. That same day when they got back to the house, Yasser took the two girls. He said he wanted to take them for a ride so they could talk about everything that's going on in the family, so they can work out their differences. And he takes the girls out in his taxi, and on their way, like, I can't even imagine what was going on in his head at that time. He had his weapon, and he just finished those two girls in the taxi. He hit Amina 2 times, and he hit Sarah 9 times with his weapon. His own little girls. Like, this is the part where I just froze. Like, who would do something like this to your own children? Like, Sarah was strong. Sarah was a fighter. After being hit 9 times, she was still able to dial 911 and report that her dad had just hit she and her sister, and that she was dying. And the 911 operator was, I don't know what he was thinking, but he couldn't really understand what she was saying, and they weren't able to trace where the call was coming from. And she kept screaming, saying, my dad just hit her. While the police was trying to trace the call to determine where it was coming from, they had another call from people saying that there was a vehicle, there was a taxi cab that was abandoned at a hotel where there were bodies inside. There were 2 girls inside that had been wounded. So they rushed over there and found out that it was actually the call that they had received of this young girl who was saying that her dad. So it seems like after he had wounded them, he drove the taxi cab to a taxi driveway, kind of taxi pod place, and he abandoned the taxi there. And of course, he ran away. And Yasser will become a fugitive for 12 years, you guys. For 12 years, he was put on FBI's 10 most wanted people, like, for 12 good years before he was arrested. So this guy just finished his girls like that and left them there. Why? Because of honor. Like, it doesn't even make sense, because they weren't respecting him anymore, and he saw his chances of going to sell them to the biggest bidder in Egypt, that he was losing that. And he was like, I'm going to take you away before you bring dishonor to my name. And did it. At the time when the police got there, they already knew who they were looking for. It's not like they had seen this crime scene and they were wondering who did it. They already knew. So they started to look for him, and he was gone. He was long gone. And his son at first was like, oh, Dad, what you've done, you need to turn yourself in. I'm sure God will forgive you and all of that. But later on, he changed drastically and started saying things like he knew that his dad could not do something like that. And at the funeral, he even got in some kind of altercation with Joseph. Joseph is Amina's boyfriend. Got into an altercation with him, telling him that he needed to leave the funeral because he believed that Joseph was the cause of all of this, that if Joseph wasn't in their lives, maybe this wouldn't have happened and everything. So they started to look for this guy, and eventually, like I said, he was on the run for 12 years, and the police at some point had given up, thinking that, okay, maybe he had gone back to his country, to Egypt. But surprisingly, when they found him, he was still in the US and still in Texas, like still in Texas. And he was living with, guess who was hiding him? His son. His son Islam was protecting him, his son and his brother, because he had, I think his entire family was here except his older sister. So his brother and his son were hiding him for all these years. He would stay in the house and they would come there and bring him groceries and bring him everything until he was finally arrested. Very recently, after the arrest, Yasser was indicted for finishing his 2 girls, and his brother that was helping to protect him and keep him in that house was convicted, and he's facing 12 years. Well, he was charged and he's facing 12 years in jail. And his son, Islam, facing 10 years in jail for hiding this guy for 12 years, you guys. I mean, and that's the thing, because when everything happened, everybody was like, how did he probably had a getaway car, he probably had somebody help him escape, because there's no way he could have done that and abandoned his car there and fled. So they strongly believe that his family was helping him out, but I don't know how they weren't able to capture him all this while. But I'm glad they finally did. I'm glad they finally did. So there we have the sad ending of Sarah and Amina, 2 young, beautiful girls whose lives were just ended just like that by their own father. Like, for me, that's one of the biggest betrayals ever. We're talking about family betrayals. Like, for your own father to do that to you, take your life with his own bare hands, just like that. Now, like I said earlier when I was researching on this, for me, it seems like it's unbelievable. It's far-fetched. Like, how can you do it? But in the Muslim tradition, right? And again, I say it without any disrespect because through my research, I found out that this is not a Muslim. Like there's nothing. I've never seen a Quran before in my life. I don't know what is in there, but from research, I found out that this is not part of the Quran. Okay, honor killing is not part of the Quran. Like true Muslims who tell you that there's no way in the Quran where it says that you need to take another person's life for the sake of honor. But it happens a lot. It happens way more than is reported because there's a lot of them in their regions that are not reported at all. Why? Because the people in those regions, they don't see it as a crime. For them, it's normal. And it's like if you're, and it's mostly the girls, or let me say just the girls. If your daughter brings dishonor to the family, to the people, that's the only thing that they're supposed to do is to take her life. Because until you do that, the family could be shunned. Like nobody will be talking to that family. They can treat you very bad until you take away that bad seed from their community. So to them, it's very normal. They'll praise you. Probably you'll be honored in your community for doing that, which for me is just, I don't know. There are reports that over 5,000 women lose their lives to honor killing every year. And again, that's just the ones that have been reported because most of the times they don't see it as being anything worth reporting. In most of the cases, the sons are involved and the mothers are involved too. The mothers are involved too. In a lot of the ones that I watched, the mothers were part of it. So bringing me to Patricia, this mother in this case, like there was something very, very wrong with her. And I acknowledge that she too was abused for a very long time. She stayed in this relationship, in this marriage for over 20 years, going through abuse and all. But at the end, I really wonder why she decided to take the girls back after they had gone away. When I think about it, I'm thinking, okay, maybe these girls, they helped their mom to flee from their dad, right? They helped her flee. After all the years of abuse, they convinced her to run away with them, and she did. So why did she think that she had to go back and even deceive the girls? She had to lie to them the reason why they were going back. And I don't know if she has any regrets at all. I don't know, and I doubt it, because from the videos that I watched of her, she didn't sound like, maybe she does have regret. I don't want to judge her, but she didn't sound like she was blaming her husband for what he did. Or maybe she was confused, because she would say things like, he didn't abuse the girls, he just abused me, he wasn't physical to the girls. When the girls reported that he assaulted them in that kind of way, she said that never happened. Like a lot of the things that her family was saying, she was saying something a whole lot different. Like they'll talk about the letter, she would say, I don't remember that letter. And then she'll be like, who would have thought that he's going to hurt his girls? Like, if an outsider wouldn't have thought that, you should have thought that. You're the one that was in the house with them. You the one that knows your husband. and she knew what he was capable of. She knew that he had that weapon. There were several videos of him flashing that weapon to the kids, flashing the weapons to, like, with Patricia. I don't know if it was just years of abuse that made her just accept things the way they were. I don't know. I'm also thinking that she was really committed to this marriage, and maybe he had convinced her that she had to also be part of the honor thing. I don't know if she knew he was going to do that to the girls. I don't know. I don't know. I guess nobody would ever know. But it is what it is. And her family members, her sisters, they are so mad at her. They cannot even understand why she would do something like that, because for me it feels like she drove them into that death trap. It's like she took them to be slaughtered like that, because you can only help but wonder, what if they had stayed back in Oklahoma? What if they hadn't come? If they had stuck to the plan, I don't think there's any way this man would have found out where they were. And you can tell that he didn't have any good intentions for them, because as soon as they came, it's like the same day they came, they just took him out. And one other thing that really puzzles me is this yes sir man. You're in America, yet you don't like America, you don't like Americans. You marry one and you don't like her, so you just marry her so that you can be able to express your hatred for the people. I don't even understand. And like I said, in their countries, those countries where they practice honor killing, it is not considered a crime over there. So why would you leave your country and come to another country and do what is criminal in that country? Like, it could be honor all you want. You can honor whatever you want to honor. Keep it to yourself. Keep it in your area, in your zone. Don't come to another place and be doing the honor things there, because it's going to be considered a crime. And he knew. He knew. If he didn't think that he had done something wrong, he wouldn't be hiding. He wouldn't be going through that. Just imagine the solitary life. He was already in jail for 12 years before he was before he was ever captured. Like, you living in this house for 12 years, you can't go out, you can't go anywhere. You're just in the house every day, morning to night. And his son and his brother would just come and bring him food and bring him groceries. So he was already in jail. Now, is it worth you living that kind of life? So there we have it, you guys. The sad story of the Said sisters. This is like the ultimate family betrayal, for a father to do that to his own children. And unfortunately, I have a few of those stories that I'm going to be covering, because it's really something that we need to really address. It's something that we need to talk about. I don't know if there's going to be any changes. That's their belief. I don't want to say it's their religion, because again, like I said, there's Muslims that say that is not really part of the Quran. Okay, so I don't want to say it's their religion, but it's their belief, and I don't want to judge them, but it's just outright wrong to take anybody's life for whatever reason. To each his own at the end of the day, but it doesn't change the fact that what is wrong is wrong. Sarah Said is currently facing the death penalty, which I hope he gets, because what he did is just unbelievable. As of now, I do not think that he's been to court yet. They haven't sentenced him yet, so I don't really know, but I will keep an eye on the story and hopefully give you an update if anyone. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Like, can you believe that a father could do this to his own children? And what do you think about the mother? Like, it's, for me, it's just so hard to believe that she wasn't part of this. Again, I want to acknowledge the fact that she also was abused for so many years. For a very long time she was abused, but I'm not convinced that she didn't know that the husband was going to hurt the girls at some point. So let me know what you think. So thank you so much for watching. If you're still here till the end, I'm pretty sure you enjoyed the story for today. Please give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you have not already. Show some love, take care of yourselves and each other, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.